Hello guys and welcome to another, well actually it's not a track guide, it's a weekly guide. And this is a new concept that I would really like to try and see what you guys think about it. So I always been asking the comments down there, so what do you do? I mean, what are your tips and tricks about the particular track, particular race, or how do you handle tire wear? And I would really like to explain everything that's gonna happen this week. I mean, most of the things that will kind of happen in this week, so just to share my tips and tricks and how to do it better and how to improve on your driving. Yeah, that's about it, and without further ado, let's get going. Okay, now starting off with Fuji International in N400. So as usual, I forgot to do something and I forgot to put the traction control here at 1, and you can see that the car is sliding a little bit, but I kinda held my position. Okay, I didn't hold my position, I lost like 2 places. But okay, first corner as usual in N400 and Daily Race A, it's a chaos. You can see that I think it was the German that he didn't probably brake where he usually brakes. So just trying to get a move on this Frenchman, but kind of didn't work out, and I'm on the outside of this corner, which is not usually a great thing, and you can see now why. So basically on this corner it doesn't matter where you are, just want to stick to the left hand side of the track, but they decided to go for it, and just a little, yeah, it was just a little tap here, or just a left tap there. On the left hand side, you can see the car is quite sliding. So I mean, if you're using this older version of this Porsche, I think you might be better off. If you're a beginner, I would say if you're from, let's say, a B or even a C rated driver, I would really recommend driving this thing at traction control 1. If you really want a challenge, then put it to 0 and just hope for the best, which I think it's pretty good for learning. So if this combo as usual is pretty good for learning, and pretty good for just learning the track and learning how the tires and the car handle. This is just I would say the main difference from Daily Race B into Daily Race A is that you have sports tires. I would say not all the time, but most of the time you're racing on different tires and in a different class, which is, again, as I said, good for learning. But if you're struggling, there's nothing wrong with going with traction control 1. And yeah, just trying to do the best as you possibly can. But as you can see, I moved up to P4 and there is actually no one around me, which is pretty good if you're doing Daily Race A. Yeah, just the second and a half from the top, I would say top 3 places. I wouldn't say from the leader. Okay, the leader is up there, but they're all fighting for that front position. And I'm gonna try to explain this one with the guide. So usually the 200 meter sign here is the braking point, but you can actually see me going on and off the brakes because I didn't carry as much speed as I possibly could out of the last turn. So here I would really recommend maybe going in the 3rd gear and then just trying to be easy on the power, and also trying to be very easy with the turning. Again, 100 meter sign is the braking point. Brake carefully. I wouldn't say that you have to trail brake that much into this corner, and try to stay in 4th gear. And you can also see me just going on and off the throttle, just carrying that speed and trying to get as most as I can out of this turn. And I'm always kind of aiming for this part of the track, and then you can put the power down. And again, as usual, I think this dot is pretty common for most of the classes, but try to brake in the straight line, downshifting in the 3rd gear. So don't try to go in the 2nd gear. I think it's a bit too much, but if you're in 3rd, you can also put the power down quite early, and I think it's maybe the best thing for yeah, for this track. And if I said, like, if you're in a beginner, you're gonna be much better off with higher gears. So Dunlop sign, I outbraked myself here a little bit, but I also think that the German didn't know that I was here. So this is the usual line. Staying in 2nd, you can use the exit, you can also use the curbs right here. You can see how much of the track I'm cutting in here. Left hand side of the track, when this kind of little part of the grass ends, this is where you brake. But you can see I'm not braking a lot. I'm just tapping the brakes as much as I need, because the car will turn in, and then I'm waiting for the other part of the curb on the left hand side once again. So this is where you usually put in a little bit of braking, and just keep in mind that if you overdo the braking, the car might slide, and it usually in classes like this it slides quite a lot. And the German actually got a penalty here, but we're gonna go through the right hand side of the track, which is usually my last reference point, my braking point yeah, it's usually my reference point for this one, but I took a little bit of a wider approach because I wanted to just give myself a little bit more speed onto the straight, so maybe we could catch the guys in front, but they were too far away. 1.2 seconds. The German has a 1 second penalty. I mean, just if you don't mind losing a little bit of time, he has a penalty. Just playing it smart, taking it easy second gear, because he's got a service penalty and we don't want to lose any more time. I want to keep this P4. I don't want to get okay, you can see actually I'm looking at the back. I don't want to leave a gap to the Frenchman in the 5th place, so we don't want to open some kind of a gap, but I also don't want to get too far behind the guys in front of me. So the German going a little bit too wide. I'm giving him space, but I'm kind of seeing at this point, yeah, he's costing us a little bit of time. He's also got this 1 second penalty, but if you go for a battle, you're just gonna lose even more time. So it's actually worth a bit, you know, I would say just half a second here, half a second there by waiting. But again, I decided to go for a move. Dunlop sign, break in the straight line. There, I don't think there was maybe even the slightest contact, but there was it. So second gear, just trying to cut this part as much as I can without getting a penalty. So it's usually where most of the people get their penalties. Again, third gear, taking it easy here. I was kind of afraid that he might go for a move here because I really left the door open, but I'm quite sure that he didn't want to lose any more time and we are good to go. So here, you might go for a move here, but I don't think it's a really smart option, because if you're just trying to go for, let's say, second place here or the first place, and if you got a penalty, there's literally no point of fighting that one. You're just gonna lose time and you're just gonna drop even a few more places downwards. It's not, in my opinion, it's not worth of going or just doing that. So just try to keep it on the road and just try to keep it on the track. There's nothing wrong of losing half a second or maybe a little bit more. So here I'm moving kind of closer to the German up there, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna be enough to catch him. So at this point I was like, okay, I might catch him by the end, but it might not be enough. So he's actually making a mistake here, going too wide, but I also made a mistake of just sliding a bit too much. This is the sliding that I was talking about. So if you don't control your car properly, you're gonna lose a lot of time. And you can see here, I just that little slide, and now he's off. So even P1 made a mistake here, and you can see how much a difference does it make. Just that 1 or 2 little slides, and there you go. You just completely lost, the battle for second place, and I could have been up there. But again, super close once again. Yeah, just trying to make the most out of this race and most out of this track without making a mistake or going for a dive bomb, which is pretty common on Fuji, I gotta say. And again, he's also going wide at this one, just keeping it tight and clean right about this one. Braking as I usually brake, a little tap on the brakes, nothing more than that. Second gear, I think you can even exit this one in third gear. That could be even better in my opinion. Again, just going a little bit too wide here, and I was kind of hesitant to go on the power, and this is the point I think I lost that time. So in the end, not enough time to get into P2, but I got seriously close. I mean, didn't put in too much practice into this one, and yeah, we're off to the next race. P3, I gotta say, a podium from P5, I think. Even losing a couple of places in the opening wasn't the worst thing in the world. So yeah, as I said before, Interlagos group 4, and for this one I was using the Atenza. As you can see, I'm revving up the car. You don't have to do this, but I usually do it. I don't know why, but I usually do it. So braking balance at 2 as usual. You might even want to put it at 1 in some corners, and maybe even up to 3 in that technical part of the track. But you can see that's just the power of the Megane behind me. Just look at this stuff. So we are all starting from the same point, and he's just making so much time, and I actually have to go defensive in the first turn because he got seriously close. It usually doesn't get this close, but he got really close to me. And as usual, try to carry as much speed through this section as you can and cut it, really cut it. But of course you got to be careful not to get a penalty into that section. So just, yeah, I would say pretty hard track if you're aiming for a top result, because I mean, even the slightest possible mistake can mean so much of a difference. As you can see here, just the Spaniard goes a bit too wide. I kind of try to go for a move, made it stick a little bit off the track, but again, it was move done fair and square. So here, a little bit of braking down to 3rd gear and up to 4th gear on my way up. And as usual, try to keep, oh, again, he makes a little mistake right here, just trying to stay in that slipstream and carry that speed. Don't go into 1st gear. I think there was a lot of comments in the chat yesterday, so don't go into 1st gear and just stay in 2nd. It might seem that the car doesn't have this extra horsepower or that extra acceleration, but don't go into 1st. If you're using the Atenza, the 1st gear is a no-go on this track, so keep it in 2nd. 2nd and 3rd are pretty common, and also very fast on the exit out of the turns, which will allow you just to carry that speed and catch the guy in front of you, as I was catching Kimi right here. Yeah, I mean, I was out of the slipstream. I wasn't kind of aware that, yeah, he's got too quick out of that last turn. I wasn't even capable of carrying that much speed out of there, but yeah, it is what it is, I guess. And now we're off to this track guide. 50-meter sign is usually where I brake. I try to keep it as close as possible to the line. I'm looking at the shadow, and there I turn in 2nd gear, and you can see how much of the track I'm cutting in here. I mean, you can probably cut a little bit more. This is not the best time that I've done on this track, but I'm just trying to recreate what I'm doing in the race and how to behave in the race on this one. So you can cut it even more, and some corners are a bit different. That's, yeah, that's normal from the race and from the time trial. Here again, I'm looking at the gap. Do not downshift in the 2nd. You may want to downshift a little bit if you're not carrying the speed, but I think the 3rd gear is probably the best around that corner. So here, 4th gear, kind of good, but I usually brake a little bit. You can even see that braking half of the way in. Do not brake very hard, and you might, as I said, downshift into 3rd gear, but I think 4th gear is quite okay. Looking at the marks just in front of me, brake straight and then cut this part as much as you possibly can. Put in the right hand tire on the grass. So here again, the curb, just a tap on the brakes here, maybe with some other cars not even a tap. And again, as I would say, just when this goes into your side, put the power down in 2nd gear and rev up the car. So this will allow you to bring a lot of speed onto this section and actually carry that speed and carry the momentum onto this section. Beginning of the curb here is again one braking point, and as soon as you touch the curb, go for it. Really, there is nothing much to lose. I mean, just gonna lose even if you wait, and do not downshift into 1st. It might seem you have to, but do not downshift into 1st gear. So here, before the 50-meter sign, you can see the change in color of the grass there, and you have to downshift into 2nd and again into 3rd gear, and you can see how much more speed that Kimi is getting out of this few sections. I mean, especially on the straight, I wasn't really sure how he's doing it, but it has to be something with putting the power down and just trying to get the best possible line. So this has been done with as little practice as possible. I think I even done like 3 laps of practice before this race because I got disconnected in my previous race. So just trying to carry that speed, cutting the track, and they both, I think Kimi went for a dive bomb, and he didn't get a penalty, which was quite, I mean, I don't know what is going on with the penalty system, but I mean, you would normally expect that he's gonna get a penalty for it. Just trying to brake super late here, but still giving the space to the guys around me. I think we made a little contact, but I'm not sure. I had a look at the replay, so it was and wasn't there. I mean, it was super close, but I think he just tried to leave me more space and then went a little bit to the right side and off the track. So here, just chasing the Italian BBS, very nice livery, I guess, and then we will try to get something out of this race. But he was a very tough player to just go for a move even here. I know Interlagos is usually a hard track to go for clean overtake. I'm talking about clean overtakes. You can do kind of a dirty one, but I mean, I don't want to do that stuff, so I'm always trying to go for a clean move. Okay, you might even say something later, but we'll go through this video and just trying to keep the gap and trying to keep, yeah, just trying to keep that slipstream range of 7.5 tenths, and yeah, making it possible to go for a move in the first corner, which is usually the only about 2 places where you can actually go for a safe move. First and the third corner are usually the places where you can go for it. I'm just trying to aim and carrying a bit too, I would say, too much speed, going a little bit too far, not making the turn, and yeah, colliding with the Italian, and yeah, the Brit didn't have anywhere else to go but just, yeah, to make an evasive action, and he's in that 6th place. Where this is another place where you can actually go for a move, but I'm just quite not close enough. I could have possibly done it, could have possibly gone for a move, but I said to the Italian, okay, I made it in the first corner, I'm not gonna do it again, I'm not gonna have a contact once again, so just trying to keep it clean. And as I said, 3rd gear is usually the best here, but you can stay in 4th, it's really not a big deal. Yeah, trying to go for the outside of this corner, but even I lost a bit of time. I should have kept it here, I should have kept it behind him and just trying to follow him. So yeah, just lost yeah, I think I lost even like 3 tenths, 2 to 3 tenths, just trying to go for a move there on the outside. So don't go for the move on the outside, it's not really worth it unless you got really worn out tires, which is not gonna happen at this one because it's a daily race. B, you don't have tire wear, and yeah, I even lost a bit of time, and I was actually afraid that I might pick up a penalty in the end, which I didn't. So it was, yeah, it was quite okay in the end. As you can see, if you're not close enough, you're not just picking up that slipstream and you're done. So that one mistake, that one of kind of early move that wasn't supposed to happen, made me stick into P5. And yeah, well done to the Italian. We're very good racing. I mean, I'm sorry about the mistake that I've done, but I think it's all good between us. And now we're off to daily race C at Laguna Seca in Group 3, and for this track I decided to go with the Beetle. You can see me changing the braking bias to -1, and I'm immediately going to start with the track guide here. So the free and the line is usually where I go and put my foot down on the brakes. And again, I did this track guide, you can see it in the description. There is a link to the detailed track guide of this track, but I'm just trying to make it in, I would say, race conditions, because it is a little bit different. As you can see, I'm braking slightly before the end of this curve, but in my track guide, in the normal track guide, I'm kind of not braking, but maybe a little bit of braking putting down there, just because you're carrying that extra load. You're carrying a full tank of fuel, and you got the tire wear, so you got to count into that. So just every time you're going for your first lap, you got to account in for the tire wear, and that you have to take into account that the car is full of fuel. So that's gonna make like a huge difference, and you gotta be careful. So here the 2 sign, as usual, trying to not make a mistake, almost going wide there. I almost thought that I lost it. This was, I think it was my like 2nd race of the day, so it was, I wasn't quite experienced with the car and everything else. So looking at the dark spot around there and just trying to make the best possible line through here. And I would really recommend going downhill in 3rd gear. So don't go in 2nd upshift into 3rd gear if you're using the Beetle, and stay as close as possible to that curb. So that is very important. And this one, if you really want to burn more fuel, I would suggest going in 3rd gear here, but again, it's not really worth it, I think, over the long run, because you're just not carrying that amount of speed you should be carrying. So here, free, braking in the straight line, and then we're gonna downshift it into 1st, and then upshifting into 2nd to get the most out of the car, and just to get the most out of the traction of the car. So again, it was quite an exciting race, quite an exciting track, and this combo has been on for quite a lot. And Haku is now going for a move here. I just realized, okay, he might be quicker than me. I'm gonna leave him some space. There is nothing much to do around this track. I mean, if you're losing time, we're both gonna lose time. The guys at the back are just gonna, yeah, they're just gonna close up, and we're gonna lose even more time as we go through the race, so it's not really worth of defending early on. Maybe if this was like 7th or 8th lap, I would kind of think, okay, I might just do an evasive action. I might go like a little bit too wide and then just try to do a cutback or something. But I mean, this early on, 1st or 2nd lap, no way. Just let him pass. There is no point. You can shut down the door, but again, he's gonna try to go for a move once again, and you're not again defending, you're just losing time. So here, making this line stick, I mean, it's okay, but third gear, always try to be in third gear, and you can actually see I picked up a half a second penalty, which in the end I realized it's not such a big a disadvantage. So it's only half a second. If you pick up a second penalty, it's still not, I wouldn't say it's not a second worth of penalties, actually even less, because it's just before the braking zone and the braking point, which is quite okay if you ask me. I decide, okay, I'm gonna give him a tap. I mean, nothing much we can do around here, so half a second penalty, he's gonna get this place either way, so there is just not a point of going for a move here. I mean, when I serve this penalty, I would probably lose 2 places if I didn't tap it and just try to stay in that slipstream. So sometimes, as I said before, sometimes you gotta play it smart, and sometimes you have to think about what you're doing, not just going for a move every single corner, every single turn. And again, I mean, you can see it's a half a second penalty, but you're not losing more than half a second, maybe even less than half a second. So yeah, as I said, we're gonna jump into the next lap and just the next situation, which I think was pretty interesting on this track. And this is where the battle started. I caught up with Haku, so it was lap number 5. And at this point, you know, I got up the pace. I don't know what happened. I just got up the pace and learned the track a little bit with this car, because I did my qualifying with the RS01. So the Renault is slightly different than this Beetle. This Beetle is a lot more stable, but again, if you want to do this race, you just have to get used to the car first and then do the race. Otherwise, you will, like you're seeing on the screen, you will lose a lot of time, and it's not really worth it doing something like that. But again, at this point I realized, okay, maybe Haku isn't that fast at this point, so I might even try to go for a move. I tapped him a little bit, but I think it was fair from my point. And again, just making this move stick, and I didn't want to go defensive here, and I left him space, and again I touched the throttle again a little bit too fast, and it was a spin. So nothing wrong with Haku's move. He left me space. I even looked at the replay, so there was nothing really he could have done there. I mean, it was just my bad. I wanted to defend this place and wanted to put the power down as soon as I possibly could, but again, sometimes you make those bad decisions and end up in the gravel, which I did. But it was actually quite a good spin, so I did one spin and that was it. But Bobby now decides to go for a move, just trying to put my map on the side to cover this place down, because we are not going too wide into corkscrew. It's not a good idea. It's really not a good idea to go for a move there. So another place you don't want to be, and you don't want to go for a move there. I mean, you just have to stay behind and yeah, go for a move somewhere. I would say maybe in this turn or in the first turn, which is actually it's the second turn. But yeah, that's about it. Don't rush things. Just take your time. Stay in the slipstream for as much as you can, and then you go for a move. Then you go for that move for the overtake, which is pretty good here. So usually here I'm doing my overtaking, or maybe in some other corners, but I think this is probably the safest option. And you can see if you slightly go off the track and put the power down, something like it can happen, something like that happened to me. And there was basically, and we got Haku and Maxime and the other Brit in front, so 4 drivers in front of me, and this was something that I had to keep in mind. I wanted to do something about them. I really I kind of knew that I was slightly faster than Haku at this point. Maxime was in his own league, so I think he was even holding the world record at this point. So I will just skip to the point where I caught up with them, and then we will discuss what happened later on in the race. And same thing happened as happened with Haku. I caught up with Marlowe. I'm sorry, you can type in the comments if I spelled it wrong, but I will just call it CRG driver. So I knew that I was a little bit faster than him, and there is no way for going a clean move. unless you do something very, very quick. So I decided, okay, it's time to go into the pits. We will do an undercut, so just trying to get the best possible result here, the cleanest track there I can get, and just trying to make the most out of this one. So I gotta say that basically went into the pits, I think it was like in lap number 9. So my point of view on this track, so if you're in the front pack, if you're just staying in the front 3 places, don't go into the pits unless you're getting stuck behind someone or just making a terrible mistake. Don't go into the pits until the lap number 13, as you can see here. So if you're going in the pits early, you might get stuck in traffic, which is not a good idea, because the other guys are just gonna go, yeah, they're just gonna do their racing normal and they're gonna pit in the last lap, and I mean, you don't have any kind of difference, you don't have any kind of change. I mean, if you go into the pits in lap number 13, there's not really a difference. And again, we gotta do this properly. We gotta do this. I mean, this is the decisive lap, and just trying to make the most out of it. So here, trying to catch wind. I know that he was quick. I just knew that he was getting that extra little few tenths per, maybe not per lap, but overall the race distance, I just knew that he was really up there. So just trying to chase him. Later on, I think he said that the WRX is not behaving like he usually used to, but now he's picking up that penalty. I mean, and now you know, unless you're really close to him, you're just not gonna make it stick. So all of the other front runners are going into pits, of course, because you gotta go into the pits. And I have to say, if you haven't done this track already, if you haven't done this combo, you don't have to change tires. So you just have to go into the pits and then literally do not refuel, do not pretty much do anything. It's just go into the pits, do not refuel, do not change tires, and you're gonna be good to go. So here it was a really close one between me and the Brit, but yeah, I made it stick, and I made it into P4. I mean, quite an interesting race with like a terrible start and terrible spin in the opening. So I mean, what can I say? It was a pretty good race, and trying to go for a move here on the wind, but again, not close enough because it's a braking zone, and that half a second penalty doesn't really mean much. And this is not a place to go for a move, just trying to stay behind him and just trying to do this properly, and maybe he can make a mistake or something. So just trying to kind of improve my odds in this one and staying close as possible. But again, which happened in the previous race that I've done, I'm gonna pick up a penalty. Yeah, half a second penalty, but it's not a half a second penalty if you cross the finish line with it. Then it's a 1 second penalty, and yeah, I got a driver behind me that it's not in that distance. So yeah, what can you do here? This was terrible, because I made the undercut work, I made the whole race work, and all of a sudden you're picking up a half a second penalty and you're down into P5. But I mean, it was still a good recovery. I mean, still pretty good with everything on this track and this combo. So guys, please let me know in the comment section down below if you like this concept, if I should be doing this or not. And yeah, I really want to see what's your idea and what's your opinion on this. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys next time, and have a great week of racing. Bye bye.